speaking of sons, we have a couple of players here who I don't think have children, so probably don't have any sons, but their futures are as bright as the sun. Yeah? All right. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner of Babylon, we have the blue Terran. 0. And in the upper left, the red Protoss. It's PattyMac. Couple of North American memers and dreamers. Now, PattyMac is one of those players that occasionally will hop into a tournament and then just kind of demolish somebody. Somebody who you would really think would be favored against him. But it is a little hit or miss. I haven't gotten to cast a lot of NA StarCraft lately, so I'm really interested to see how these guys do against each other. Zero, I'm not quite as familiar with. Apparently Zero works at Shopify, though, so that's cool. Just proving that Shopify is full of, people who love StarCraft. So far, everything looks pretty normal out here. Zero gonna go for a... All right, I spoke too soon, guys. I spoke too soon. Everything looks normal here, I say, as PattyMac drops a Nexus in the base. I really, really don't know what the purpose of this Nexus is. The probe is getting very low, and I feel like PattyMac's gonna want to keep this probe alive. And it will live, at least for now. What is... okay. There's nothing over here. PattyMac is chrono boosting out an Adept. Is there going to be a recall? I don't really know. Oh, I see. Yes, there is going to be a recall of 2 Adepts. Do you see how the probe damaged all of these SCVs? That means 2 Adepts will one-shot each of these yellow hit point SCVs. Bunker going down. I like that. That's going to kind of wall off this area for any shades, but it's still going to be tough, I think. Zero needs to get more units out and just try to cover as much of this as he possibly can. Because there's the recall. There are the 2 Adepts. Oh, now these Adepts need to get out of here. They're taking a lot of damage. But they're starting to target down those yellow hit point SCVs. They're starting to get a few. This is a massive investment for PattyMac, who is just now finishing up a Nexus back at home. But 9 SCVs, 8 SCVs is quite a lot. Plus a lot of lost mining time here. So those SCVs were pulled. Is it worth it? I'm going to go with no, definitely not. But Zero isn't really going to be able to push across the map right now. And PattyMac's up a bunch of workers. He's just chrono boosting out probes at this point. Zero needs to get that worker count back up as soon as this orbital finishes. This is, I mean, what an excellent first game out of PattyMac. Just giving us the juice right from the get-go. This sentry just used all its energy, so it will have nothing to stop this Hellion Reaper getting in. And there's actually no other units right now. Stalker warping in, but these guys are just going to go straight into the main base and maybe be able to get a few probes. That'd actually be really nice for Zero, because Zero's economic position is pretty abysmal right now. Getting 3 probes and some lost mining time, it just makes it a little closer. Still a slight favor for PattyMac in terms of that mining, but no longer anything crazy. Zero's going to drop the 3rd as the Nexus dies. Will this replay be available? I would guess not. That's not really my decision to make, but I can talk to the people in charge if they have a way of getting this replay. I don't know if Apprentice Esports has some way to get replays. I know some teams do like Patreon accounts and stuff like that. So if you support them, you can have certain benefits. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. We'll have to ask. Actually, Sugar, do you have the answer to that question? PattyMac going for a blink follow-up. The Robo is on the way, but seems to just be, what is that, 2-gate? 3-gate blink? So not super committed to it. Just going to be able to get a few Stalkers out, and I might try to do something cheeky here. There's nothing in Zero's base to really stop this. And actually, 5 Stalkers, they could grab a tank if this works out really well for PattyMac. Well, it looks like he's just going to go in for the SCVs. Force everything to pull up in here, and then I think PattyMac's going to just have to recall. There it is, the blink away and recall. 1 Stalker takes a little bit of damage, but some nice pressure from PattyMac while the third is coming up. And the follow-up will be Colossi and or Disruptors. I love that somebody sees a proxy Nexus in the game and is like, can I get this replay? How do I get this replay? What do I have to do to get this replay? Please. Anything to get this proxy Nexus replay. It's kind of beautiful. Just goes to show the level of quality of chat. That you recognize some god tier gameplay when you see it. Both players just kind of macroing for now. Zero does have that third CC, but hasn't put it down on location yet, so PattyMac's getting a bit of an advantage that way by already mining from this base. It feels like Zero wants to push out, but you know what? As I say that, 1-1 is on the way. I guess it's just going to be some macro. Despite a very exciting start, we have a pretty standard game on our hands here. I guess it did work out for PattyMac. There are a lot of builds that I feel like could really take advantage of the fact that PattyMac's Nexus was so late and there wasn't a lot of tech for a while. But Zero just wasn't either able to go into one of those builds or just didn't have the right tools for it, the right production structures. I'm not sure what these Widow Mines are here for. I guess like a warp prison? Maybe trying to get a cheeky observer kill. I don't think Zero really knows what he's up against. Let's see. No, hasn't spotted any of the tech. Knows that there's a Robo, obviously knows that there's Blink. So might be surmising Colossi. But hasn't gotten the confirmation yet. Alright, that Widow Mine doing a great job killing the hallucinated Phoenix. Stalker staying out there for a little bit too long. PattyMac wants to try to take advantage of this third base going down here. Zero seems to be a little bit split, not sure which way to defend. And I think Zero's lack of vision on the map is really, really painful here. It gives PattyMac an opportunity to maybe be able to sneak in here and get some damage done. The Zealots look like they're going around. Oh, and he's going to see this army. He's going to be very happy about that because that means these Zealots will have free reign over this third base. And in the meantime, all he has to do is kind of poke at this army, stop Zero from taking a good fight, and the Zealots are going to start hitting these SCVs. Only a few going down. Actually, the bunker really helping there. And a quick reaction from Zero, pulling that army back. A little bit of lost mining time for SCVs. But PattyMac keeps most of the Zealots alive. And over here, ready for another counterattack. Zero really has to respect that. And I like this. The supply depot's going down. A Widow Mine. It's looking very good on the defense. That being said, PattyMac chilling on 4 bases right now. Getting into Disruptors. Getting into a Dark Shrine. Going very Robo heavy, no High Templar or Archons or anything like that right now. I do like this from Zero as well, just moving around with a little bit of army, killing some of those observers that post up around with the Raven. And this game is still pretty incredibly even. The upgrades are a little offset, but overall, pretty close here. Vikings coming out to counter the Colossi. I don't think there's too many out just yet. Only 3 of them right now. However, there is a Raven. Going to go for the anti-armor missile on the Zealots. Dorito dusting a ton of those Zealots. A few units try to stim forward and get the Disruptor. Doesn't quite happen. Another Disruptor firing its shot. Doesn't get the hit, but PattyMac keeping the pressure on a little bit. Zero gonna have a tough time taking a 4th base, and in the meantime, PattyMac's 5th is nearly done. And this is how you can really crush the heart and soul of a Terran player. Yeah, each fight is good. Not a lot has been lost on either side. It's pretty, like, solid armies. But PattyMac's going to have the ability to just replenish this army so much quicker with a billion warpins. Charge lots tend to do pretty well in low unit situations. They get a good surround, good surface area. And PattyMac's going to start just taking trades now. They might not be the best trades, but if he can start to chip away at the tanks, chip away at the big units here, and just take the trades, could be quite good. I don't think that trade went that well for him, though. That was definitely a better trade for Zero. But considering the income, let's check the graph here, is pretty in favor of PattyMac, other than a couple of mule drops. He's pretty happy to just keep doing this. Needs to watch those Disruptors a little bit, but the Disruptors are so good at zoning these units back that now the Stalkers can do some damage to the Orbital, can work on this bunker, and make it a lot easier for those run-bys to go through. Might even be able to get a kill on the Orbital if he pushes this army back far enough. Zero will be taking a 4th base. The proxy get up here could put a hold on that one. In fact, it looks like PattyMac might just be trying to rotate around. And again, here's where Zero not having a lot of vision comes into play. Didn't realize this army was there until it was already in position. A couple Disruptor Novas hit pretty well, and PattyMac is just keeping this army back. Vikings trying to kill the Colossi, but the rest of the army isn't there to really support them. Now the Vikings will do a great job taking down the last of those Colossi, but is it too little too late? The supplies are still super even, but PattyMac's going to do a big warp in, jump way ahead in that supply. And in the meantime, Zero, without the economy that he's really wanted this whole time, with the 4th base being so late, down to 70 workers, hasn't been able to get into 3-3, is just desperately trying to keep pumping units out and get that tech up. Liberators, Ghosts, things that can really do damage to this army of PattyMac. But PattyMac is chilling on 5 bases, 83 probes, and again, is just kind of happy to take these little trades, keep Zero back. Zero's going to have a really tough time sending anything out on the map. We do see a little bit of a squad here, but this is the next phase of the game for PattyMac. He's already had that Dark Shrine for a while. They already have Blink. There's a turret. It's not going to matter. There's no repair. Down is going to go that Planetary. And a lot of SCVs going down as well. Even if all the DTs die, they're still going to get some good damage here on these units. And the 3rd CC goes down as well. The Stalkers focusing that down. DT's coming home to defend this little run-by. Oh my god, the army just barely doesn't finish this. They're going to try, but they are not going to succeed. PattyMac keeps the Nexus alive, kills 2 bases of Zero. Zero can lift the main and take that 3rd again. Could lift the natural and take the 4th, but obviously that's not nearly as strong. At this point, Zero is just going to go for it. Needs to have some scans ready, but PattyMac's going for the Archons. Just trying to get some more beef into this army. Liberator's going to do a great job here as they are sieged up in these zones. Great splits against the Disruptor Novas, but there are so many Novas that the army of Zero is just getting smaller and smaller, and PattyMac is just going to get these warp-ins. More DTs, more Zealots, and more GGs as PattyMac takes game number 1 against Zero. All right, let's find out what map we're going to for map 2. Is it possible to use this UI for regular ladder replays? So that question is kind of twofold. There were some things about that UI that can only be done if you're playing on the certain mod. In this case, the mod is called Observer Plus Plus is the one I was using. Excuse me. But you can also use the overlay I was using is just the Pro 2020 overlay, so that you can just choose in game. So if you watch a replay, you can watch it with that UI, with that overlay, I should say. But you won't be able to get all the functionality that I had. So you won't be able to see like the income graph, the battle report, which is super handy. But you'll get a lot of the different features. Sugar, are you around by any chance? We have a question for you. All right. Getting ready for map 2 here. We're going to altitude. We'll have a little snow on the map. Big old map. Also, Pudding Puppy. I don't know if I like that username or not. I was going to say nice username, but it's really only the puppy part I like. Pudding, I feel like, is kind of a weird thing sometimes. Especially when it's involved with puppies. I love pudding too, but I guess if I was like eating pudding and petting a puppy, that would be a good combination of pudding and puppy. That's kind of the only good combination though. Because like, I guess I'm assuming chocolate pudding. Dogs can't eat chocolate, so the puppy cannot be eating the pudding. I don't know. And I don't want to be covered in pudding or have the puppy covered in pudding. Nobody wants that. We don't need that. It does kind of remind me of this time, though, that my very white cat just, she, like, fell. I was eating ice cream, and she jumped up on the table and fell into the lid. Just did that thing that cats do where they just, like, flop, you know? She fell right into the lid and got chocolate ice cream all over the side of her. And she's terrified of anything. So my immediate reaction of being like, was enough to scare her, and she jumped and ran under the bed. But then I had to go like get her so she wouldn't lick it off because it was chocolate ice cream. And then she was terrified, and I felt bad. But it was also hilarious. It was also one of the funniest things. Anyways, enough about cats and dogs and pudding and ice cream, as much as I love all 4 of those things. Spawning in the upper right-hand corner of altitude, we have the red Terran player. 0. And is spawned in the lower left-hand corner, the blue Protoss. PattyMac. Got to hang out with PattyMac a little bit at DreamHack Atlanta. I won't tell you the stories about what happened. No, I'm just kidding. PattyMac was very cool. Everybody at Atlanta was very cool. Very cool. Do you have a cheeky proxy pylon here? This looks like a Stargate, if I had to guess. But based on PattyMac's first game, I'm wondering if it's more than just a Stargate. You know what I mean? Is this just like an Oracle? Or are we going to see Void Rays? Or has PattyMac been watching a little bit of Roddy and we're going to see some Tempests? I don't know, but Zero's just going to immediately get the scout on the Stargate, which is not great for PattyMac. might force some things to change. We shall see. Zero was again going for a Reaper expand, so doesn't have a lot of unit producing structures out right now. CC in the main though, which I do like. A bit safer. Doesn't have to defend as many positions. And it looks like PattyMac's going to take a Nexus, so I think it will just be an Oracle. No units back at home to defend this Reaper. The Reaper's going to go ahead and get a couple of kills. The Adept is on the other side of the map, where it's going to do nothing. I like that Zero's putting up a bunker. He just doesn't trust PattyMac. He's like, you're going to do something weird. I can feel it. But it is pretty standard play out of PattyMac. Obviously, the proxy is not the most standard, but this is kind of the play you'd expect from a Protoss, rather than a Nexus in the main. Oracle going to rotate around here. There is a Widowmine, but I think PattyMac's a little too good to fall for this bait. Nice hold position. 5 SCVs going down. The Oracle's about to run out of juice. We'll have to run away. Oh my god, PattyMac. Oh, never mind. That was on purpose. Because now all the SCVs that got friendly fired are a one-tap. And suddenly, the damage skyrockets. 11 kills. And the Widowmine does more damage to those SCVs than I think that first Oracle did altogether. That's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. Sacrificing one Oracle to get all the rest of those workers is definitely worth it. And again, PattyMac starts the game just way ahead on workers. This is where we were last game, right? A lot of SCVs going down. I like the cleverness of PattyMac too, really utilizing whatever he can to get that damage done. With the probe in game 1, just doing 5 hit points of damage to each SCV so they could be 2-shot or 1-shot by 2 Adepts. And then in this case, the Widowmine friendly firing, allowing the Oracle to just one-tap a bunch of workers, comes back in and even gets one more. What's the lock-on range? I guess not quite that. Just less, a little bit less than this distance. This time, though, PattyMac's Nexus was up quite a bit sooner, and really worth noting, Zero does not have a natural. Zero's playing extremely defensively. And I'm not really sure why. I feel like this base could have been taken a couple of minutes ago. But Zero is... I mean, I know Zero is focusing on building SCVs. But even so, I feel like taking this base would have been the right call. And oh my god, PattyMac just going to keep hurting. This is insult to injury right now. As Zero needs to be able to build as many SCVs as possible. And this Adept is just saying, no. That's like a whole SCV of production, maybe even 1.5. That may not seem significant, but when you're down 14 workers, anything hurts so much more. And PattyMac is following this up with another 3-gate blink, but this one, that's actually 4-gate. I lied to you guys. Streamer can't count. What else is new? 4-gate blink. One of them's a proxy gate with the Oracles to be able to see up on the high ground, as well as to potentially even help do some damage here. PattyMac is going to have a lot of units pressing forward. The bunker isn't done. The tank is in the main base, not down here in the natural where I think it really needs to be. Oh, and the stasis trap is just so difficult to deal with when you already are struggling to handle the Stalkers. Stalkers just avoid the tank range, and they're going to move over to the left. There are 2 tanks sieged up now. SCV is going to get the repair on this orbital, but this is so much damage being done to Zero right now. Look at this mining. Just a huge spike for PattyMac as these SCVs just can't work. And the blink on top of the tank. And then the pullback again into that stasis trap, which Zero could scan and try to kill, but then will probably sacrifice some workers. Going to pull the tank down, but I don't think there's just going to be enough Terran here. SCVs getting pulled, getting caught in the stasis trap. Zero's going to tap out, and PattyMac goes up to a 2-0 in this best of 7 show match with some very fancy early game plays that just give him a lead. it's just a lead, but then PattyMac doesn't lose it. He's not losing the lead, and I think part of that is Zero from behind is having a tough time figuring out how to pull that lead back. What can he do to regain a lead when PattyMac has it? How do you take advantage of that? We haven't really seen aggression from Zero, and I think that's something that I hope we can see in the next few games. All right. Sorry to get the lobby open. All right. I think we're just about ready to go into game 3. We're going to Royal Blood. PattyMac already looking good, man. 2-0 start. Zero's got to pull it back. Got to pull it back. Big shout out to Apprentice Esports for supporting these players with this show match, as well as for letting me get to cast it. I'm glad I got to do a little something more this week. Even though I'm feeling a little under the weather, happy to get some more casting going. Especially since it's been full of North Americanness, and that's what we love to see here. Spawning in the upper right-hand corner of Royal Blood, down 0-2. Needs to start pulling it back because it's a tough spot to be in a best of 7. It's 0. And in the lower left-hand corner, the blue Protoss with a roaring start. A couple of cheeky builds in games 1 and 2. It's PattyMac. I do hope we see some more cheeky builds. I know PattyMac's got more of them. I kind of want to see something a little bit different from Zero as well. Zero so far has been very macro-oriented, and it has unfortunately played right into the hands of PattyMac. But I feel like Zero's got something he can give us. Have to see maybe if PattyMac plays a more standard opening, but as I say that, we've got 2 gates here. PattyMac is going to put some more aggression on. Zero with the SCV scout. I think that's a smart choice against a player like PattyMac. You don't want to get caught with your pants down. SCV will scout the Nexus, but will come in and also scout the 2 gates. So notice there's going to be a little bit of pressure here. And I don't know exactly what PattyMac is planning. Definitely just wants to be a little bit annoying. With the no ramp here up to the natural, could really take advantage of that. Zero building on the low ground this game. The second racks from Zero. Not going for the factory. We're going to see the 2 Adepts that are coming across here. PattyMac trying to chase the Reaper, but oh, a Marauder out of Zero. Now, I guess Marauders really don't die to Adepts, do they? It takes kind of a while. They also can outrange them pretty significantly. They make it a little bit harder for these Adepts to do anything. I like this choice of defense from Zero. Whoop. Whew. Reaper gets shoved away, doesn't die though. and is doing a great job drawing these Adepts around, delaying PattyMac from having a bunch of them out on the map. 3 is enough to one-shot SCVs, so 0 is smartly not putting anything on the low ground just yet. Yeah, more Adepts. What's the Adept count at? Alright, it's just 5. This feels like a lot. Well, the Adept's going to finish that Shade and go for some SCVs. Zero's going to lose one and save one. Push the Adepts away. Blink follow-up, which the Reaper is kind of going to scout. 2 Stalkers here with the Twilight Council. I think that's pretty definitely Blink, and it is going to be 4-gate Blink. So PattyMac's going to go for heavy aggression here in game number 3. And I love this move, just targeting down the Marines. This is so crucial because you know what? The Adepts in a fight, they don't really matter. Later on when the Stalkers come in though, not having 6 Marines is a huge deal for Zero. And I mean, this is just going from bad to worse. PattyMac is now killing 8 SCVs. Eight SCVs on top of the 6 Marines. The Reaper is dead as well. So no confirmation out of Zero if there's a 3rd base, if it is Blink Stalkers coming across, but I think he's got to get ready for that. Stim is about halfway done. It's a little dicey. It's a little bit dicey. Not a lot of units up here. Well, it looks like PattyMac wants to take a 3rd. Might just want to poke and prod a little bit. Tank covers a lot of this ground. If PattyMac does blink up, he's definitely taking some tank fire. I think what PattyMac might do is put a few Stalkers in this prism. No, not just yet. Gonna blink it on top of the siege tank. Tank, ooh, I thought it was getting repaired, but isn't quite getting repaired. One of the Stalkers is gonna go down. A couple SCVs as well. More Stalkers showing up for the party. There's only 1 tank in the main, but Stim is done. Oh, tank gonna get targeted down, the unsieged one, but a lot of Stalkers gonna die here as this tank doing big damage on the top side, and those Stim Marines and Marauders getting those kills on the Stalkers. PattyMac getting a little bit overzealous there and losing quite a few Stalkers. Yeah, very good trade there for Zero, getting 7 kills. Stalkers definitely do better when there's a whole bunch of them. Oh, this is going to be kind of cute, though. It looks like PattyMac's going to blink into the main, try to circumnavigate this tank, which doesn't cover the outside. And at the same time, drop behind the mineral line in the natural. It's going to really be pulling Zero's attention and focus. And this is working perfectly. The units go down here to push away these Stalkers. They can just get lifted up in the prism, do some fancy micro. And in the meantime, the Stalkers are in the main. They're going to blink over here and go for the recall. And nothing gets lost so far for PattyMac. And Zero's just losing more SCVs, losing a couple Marines. So far, though, the trades very, very similar. And Zero has done a great job keeping up in terms of the worker counts. Very close. PattyMac's 3rd, super delayed. I saw that probe go down there earlier, and I was like, oh, there's a 3rd coming. 3rd is just finishing now, 7.5 minutes in. And, ooh, that's painful, losing a couple of Stalkers here. We see Zero is way up in army supply. And a lot of that's just straight up in this bio, which also has +1s. This is very strong bio out of Zero. Storm is not quite done yet. Oh man, these High Templar are so close to having a Storm available. Oh, it's gonna get killed. Oh, but not before Storm finishes up. No shield battery down here. Charge is not done yet. Oh, Zero pulls back, though. I feel like Zero needs to keep the pressure on. The Observer right over the army is going to allow PattyMac to drop in and storm the Marines. Huge amounts of damage. Great pickup from Zero to keep some of those low Marines alive. Look at, there's 6 of them in this medevac. but still forced out of that location by the drop. Beautiful play from PattyMac to send this army packing and keep the third alive. And now PattyMac, even on even workers, with that third base, should just be mining more in general, and has been mining more in general. And we'll just be able to pump out a ton of charge lots, more stalkers. Templar Archives is finishing back up. I really love when players lose a tech structure and then just put it down in the exact same spot. There's something really special about that. It's really like obstinate. It's like, no, this is where my Templar Archives go, and you're not going to stop that from happening. Big Warping in the main, going to force Zero to come in, but then cancels the Warp, and a really great use of that cancel, as PattyMac is also hitting the natural. Really, really nicely done, forcing all those units up to the main because they needed to deal with that Prism, allowing the natural to get hit, and then just canceling it. It was like no investment, just those few Zealots that were in the main going down. It's not often we see a cancel used tactically. Like, oh, come over here, you have to deal with these units that are warping in. But it was a really nice play from PattyMac. Again, getting kind of fancy here. I like these little moves. PattyMac is a thinking man's Protoss. Ooh, good scan. Good scan on that Observer. Third base is done for Zero, but again, not able to push out and take it right now, not with this army. Feeling a little bit hedged in to the two bases. And in the meantime, PattyMac is going to start a fourth here in a second. There goes Zero trying to push out. Oh my god, that's so many charge lots. That is just so many. There's no wall here. Oh, the storm on the units, the storm drop. Widowmine's doing a great job. EMP's doing great as well. These Zealots trying to go up here, but there's just enough storm energy left to keep this army low. It feels like PattyMac is kind of overextending here, but just more and more High Templar. There are like 3 more storms here. You're going to take down all of those SCVs, 24 of them going down, and PattyMac just going to back up. Oh man, really sticking around here. I don't know if I love this decision. The high ground vision with the Observer, a new Observer taking the place of that old one pretty much immediately. And the natural is completely routed. Feedback's going down, storm's going down. I don't know if there's a lot of storm energy left on these units, and there is... Oh, there's 2 ghosts, but I don't think they have any juice either. Another storm goes down, just chipping away at this army. The medevacs are getting very low, and they're also super low on energy. PattyMac is going to try to take advantage of this and just keep pushing it back, keep forcing Zero to stim. During all of this back and forth, it looks like PattyMac's army is getting a little bit weak, but we can look at the supply. There's a bunch of stalkers warping in back at home. PattyMac's on 64 workers to 28. Third's getting pulled back in because Zero can't do anything with it. And Zero's kind of got one chance, and it's to go across the map, but he's down a bunch of army supply. He's got 1-1 to the no upgrades PattyMac. But I don't think that's going to be enough to overcome here, especially with Colossi coming out, with the storm damage, and the fact that Zero's army is already so injured. Look at how orange and yellow this looks. This looks like a fall portrait down here in the corner. Zero's going to go for it, but there's just too much Protoss here. And even if he kills the fourth, PattyMac is still ahead. PattyMac goes for a recall. I honestly have no idea why. I thought there was going to be a drop in the main, but I don't know if that was a misclick. I feel like that was a misclick from PattyMac. And Zero's going to try to take this opportunity. I just don't think it's going to be enough, though. And it looks like that's kind of the last of it. Zero now goes for the lift up into the main, but it is 4 units. And that is not enough. GG gets called, and PattyMac goes up 3-0 in this best of 7. PattyMac on match point, looking to clean sweep Zero. Zero needs to pull out some of those GSL Terran strats. Deny storm and maybe wins. That would be the best opportunity. That storm was really painful. The lack of storm would have really hurt PattyMac there. I still feel like PattyMac would have had enough to push it back and kind of just macro forward. But it would have been a much closer game, that is for sure. PattyMac looking very strong. I'm going to grab some water real quick. I'll be right back with Game 4. Zero playing too reactive again. It is a hard thing. It's a hard thing to know how to play, especially against a player like PattyMac. We've already seen some kind of crazy strategies. And when you're up against somebody who can pull that out, it becomes really difficult to play against them. That's why we see players who have a big range of builds they can do often do very, very well. Even if they may not be technically as strong. I think that kind of unsurety when you're playing against them make it just so tough. SOS, I think, is a great example. TY also, excellent example. We're going to Ancient Sister for map number 4. Could be the last map. I hope not. But it could be. Alrighty. Let's hop in to the green map. And spawning in the upper right-hand corner, we have the blue Terran for Apprentice Esports. Zero. Currently living up to his name, unfortunately, with the score. His opponent, I don't think there's a name related to this, score related to this name, but sitting at 3. So maybe you guys can figure out how this means 3. It's PattyMac. Excuse me for a moment. Sorry, I was feeling a little phlegmy there. Feels sick, man. Being sick as a caster is always extra painful. Like, all right, let me just talk for a few hours now. PattyMac going for the double gate opening again. It did work out pretty well last game. It makes me wonder if this is PattyMac's standard opening against Terran. It can also be a really solid defense if Zero does decide to do something cheeky, right? Maybe Zero's like, all right, all on the line, proxy 3 racks. You know, let's go hard in the paint. And if PattyMac opens with double gate, it's just such a good way to counter it. And I don't really think that's PattyMac's idea, but it is kind of a nice side effect to it. It limits Zero's build options if he knows PattyMac likes to go for this opening. And PattyMac seems to be enjoying the 2 gate. You see a couple of adepts started up once again. I will not be hawking any loogies on stream. I do sneeze on stream occasionally, maybe a cough here or there, but I try to keep the really gross stuff, you know, off stream. Who is Zero? So this is Zero. Zero is a player I'm not too familiar with either. So we're all learning a little bit about Zero today. Plays for Apprentice Esports. Is a Terran. and is currently losing to PattyMac, is what we've got here from Zero. This is really nice, though. Again, Reaper going to get some damage. We've seen Zero do pretty nicely with these Reapers so far. I think this one is going to die to the Adept. In the meantime, the Adept's on the other side of the map. Looks like they got an SCV kill. I think they're just going to sneak away. Zero was once again going for the Marauder defense. So let me say, I actually have Zero's Legilac page pulled up. Zero currently ranked number 9 in Canada. Zero is Canadian. See, I get it now. That's why Zero is playing so respectfully. And PattyMac, the American, is just putting the Nexus in the main, proxying Stargates, shooting the depths over across the map. It's very disrespectful. Classic American Protoss, if we're honest. But yeah, I hope we see more of Zero. I'm sure Zero plays in things like ESL Open Cups and stuff like that. Fortunately, like I mentioned earlier, I haven't really cast much North American StarCraft in months. I've done a couple things here and there with North Americans in them, but not a ton. So I haven't been up to date on the NA memes, which is really to my detriment more than anybody else's. Because these games are exciting. Honestly, NA players, some of my favorite players to watch. EU players, way too much standard play. Way too much standard play. Like, come on, guys. Give me something good. Give me something juicy. Put a Nexus in the main base. We don't see Protoss players in Europe doing that. And, you know, it just speaks to the kind of people we have playing StarCraft in the different regions. PattyMac again going for the quick storm. I do like this. I like fast storm against Terran. It's I think a really good way to deal with early game aggression. Storm just weakens the units so much, and early on in the game you don't have enough medevacs usually to like really support the bio. So one storm can just do a ton of like basically permanent damage to the army. And by the time ghosts start coming out for the Terran, the Protoss can just swap into double Robo Bay, Colossi, Disruptors, etc. And suddenly those ghosts don't feel nearly as good. It just, I think this quick storm, because it is so fast, allows the Protoss to stay ahead of the Terran in terms of tech. Aw, thank you, Wish. I hope one day to be able to do an ESL broadcast. It seems pretty unlikely. They don't have B streams or C streams anymore, and I was really barely able to be on those, so I don't think we're going to be seeing Chickenman on the A stream anytime soon. But you know what? You never know. Maybe every other caster in the scene is busy, and I can hop in. No, but that's why I'm so happy to. Oh, hold on. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my god, and the feedback on the Raven too to kill all that energy. I actually think a High Templar auto-attack one of the SCVs too. That should be all the energy on these High Templar, but they're just going to go recall back in the corner. Beautifully done by PattyMac. Beautifully done. Storm drops. Yeah, that's why I'm so happy that Sugar reached out for me to cast this one, because I haven't gotten to do a lot of casting lately. We've had the KSL running pretty consistently. If you guys haven't watched that, that is a Korean weekly event. Very similar to the ESL Korea, but it's on, it'll be on tomorrow in half an hour from now. So 24 hours and 30 minutes from right now, we're doing KSL. So if you haven't got to catch that and check that out, definitely do. We've had some insanely good games in the KSL, but other than that, I haven't got to cast a whole lot lately, and I miss it. I miss it desperately. Raven running a little too far forward, but honestly, the Raven is not going to be particularly useful here. I feel like PattyMac maybe doesn't want to push in too hard here, but I say that with not a lot of confidence, as he just dives forward with the charge lots, gets on top of the tanks. Tanks doing a great job taking down this High Templar, and the Zealots are all dead. There's a couple of storms for the retreat, but it seems like that is about it for PattyMac. Oh, he's got the storm. Yeah, there it is. That High Templar getting a couple kills before it dies. It was like a cinematic right there. But Zero does hold on, and I do feel like that was a not ill-advised move from PattyMac, but definitely felt like Zero was going to win that fight, and he absolutely does. Ends up ahead in supply. But PattyMac's got a few more workers, has the third base up and running, and this is kind of what we've seen. Like, even if Zero takes a bit of a supply lead, PattyMac just has the ability to keep on reinforcing better, and these little Zealot run-bys are going to just buy time. Taking a decent trade doesn't have to be the best trade in the world, because PattyMac just needs time to build up this Immortal coming out, Robobay on the way, more High Templars warping in. They just need to gather enough energy to get off a couple of storms. I don't know how many ghosts we have out. Actually, no ghosts just yet. The first one coming out right now for Zero. So there might be an EMP or two in the next fight, but it's not going to be that many. And again, Zero still has quite a big supply lead, but needs to use it. If you're ahead in army supply, but down in mining, which is pretty much where Zero's at right now, you have to go use this army supply. You're ahead this far, you have to get across the map and get something going, because otherwise PattyMac is just going to chill on 3 bases, eventually take a 4th, and have too much. Man, these run-bys are just doing such a good job of keeping Zero back. This one, not taking a good trade. That is not a good trade for PattyMac. But it looks like Zero had some units out on the map that are also coming back to push this away. I will say PattyMac has a lot of things working right now that are kind of far away. +2, Thermal Lance, Blink. I still think Zero has an opportunity here, and you know, the worker count has closed quite a bit with mules. It's actually going to be an advantage to the Terran. And there's no 4th base from PattyMac. PattyMac is just kind of chilling right now, and I'm getting a little bit worried. This army supply of Zero is looking quite strong. There are a couple of ghosts. There's 3 ghosts out on the map. There's a few siege tanks, a few Widow Mines. There's even a Viking here. And finally, Zero is going to get out on the map and start using this army supply lead. Super Shield Battery is going to turn on. A couple of force fields going down. Widow Mine's getting a few units. And Super Shield Battery is keeping this Archon up and juiced for so long. Storm Drop on the backside, but there are a couple of Widow Mines here. Whoop. Oh, man, the EMP is just not quite hitting. And it feels like PattyMac is going to be able to push this down as Zealots keep running into those tanks. The Immortals tanking the tank shots. There's a lot of bio here, going to take down that Colossus. A lot of medevacs. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier. As the game goes later, the medevac count just gets more and more. And these last few units of Zero will not die. The medevac's keeping them alive. And PattyMac is suddenly struggling. There's no support for this Colossus. Nice little split, a nice EMP. The Colossus goes down, and PattyMac is forced to tap out. Zero gets a point on the board. Doesn't go down without a fight. And I'm glad for it. I did not want a 4-0 today. I don't think anybody wanted a 4-0. Except for Zero, who might have wanted a 4 next to his name, which would be Zero. It's the only 4-0, I think, anybody wants. No sweep. Alrighty. Map number 5 going to be Dragon Scales. Is there money on B tier SC2 games in China? I genuinely have no idea. Not a clue. I'm not a betting man. So I couldn't tell you what the the betting scene of StarCraft looks like. Money to be made or lost. Money to be gambled is what it is. Oh, I should have done a prediction for who was going to win the series. I could do per game. But, I don't know. We may not have any more games after this one because still on match point is our blue Protoss in the upper left corner of Dragon Scales. It's PattyMac. Patton and Mackin. His opponent in the lower right-hand corner, the red Toronto. It's Zero. Fortunately, not living up to his name. Getting a 1 on the scoreboard. And I think we're all happy to see that. I guess the question now is, what does PattyMac do? So we've been doing loser picks the map. So far, Zero has picked every map. And PattyMac, this is PattyMac's first pick. So does PattyMac have a plan on this map, a specific plan? Or is this just going to be more standard opening? We're seeing another 2-gate opener, so PattyMac must really like this. It is a nice way to get some momentum on your side, but so far it has a 1-1 record in this series. I feel like the last game, though, it comes down more to the fight later on for PattyMac, so I think he's quite all right still opening with this. It's not like the opening was bad for him. It was still a solid opening for PattyMac. Are they mostly MMR equal? I'm not 100% sure. Let's take a look here. So I don't necessarily have the MMR right now. I think PattyMac is a good bit favored. If I'm checking a Ligulac, but I don't know if Zero has as many results as PattyMac, so it's possible that Zero's level is a little bit less accurate. I'm not too sure. If I'm looking at some recent results here, I would say PattyMac should be pretty well favored in this series. And I think our score reflects that. I don't know if these guys play on the NA server very much. I don't know if we can actually check the MMR. I love that Zero has, so far in all the games, just kept the Reaper out here. PattyMac caught on to it, though, right as I was saying it. Knows the Reaper is still hanging around. And decides to defend it. Ooh, can the Marauder get into the bunker? Not quite. This SCV will pop that last little hit point on the bunker. So the Marauder does its best to hold on here. Custom Shell's on the way too. Easier to defend some of these Adepts. Reaper's still alive. These Adepts just barely not killing the Reaper. They shade away. I mean, they would have needed one more shot anyways, but Reaper ends up kind of lucky there. And it looks like PattyMac might be following this up with a blink play once again. As the Robo's coming up, I think this might just be a good old 4-gate blink. Let's see if any more gates go down. The Reaper is going to spot the Twilight Council. The Adepts come in and get a couple of kills. Looks like one of the Adepts is going to go down. One of the Marauders is going to go down as well. Little tradesies, backsies, and forthsies here. So far, though, definitely better for PattyMac. And there's a big worker lead right now, 25 or 28 to 35. This is a pretty big deal. There are those 2 more gates from PattyMac, and this is going to be lots of aggression possible from PattyMac. We do sometimes see a 4-gate blink go just into a 3rd base pretty quickly, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. The Adepts once again targeting down some of the Marines, and then going for some of the workers. And the Adepts finally die, but it's almost Stalker time as the Prism is started up Blink is nearly done. The next 2 gates. Oh my god, that's 3 gateways from PattyMac. This is 5-gate Blink. I don't think this is going to be a chill macro moment here. I have a feeling the 3rd base might be kind of far away for PattyMac. The Observer's going to come in and scout and see him. Pretty standard setup from Zero. Again, we've seen pretty much the exact same thing from Zero every single game so far. And I feel like getting some variety into that play is such a good way to put somebody like PattyMac on the back foot. See, the thing is, PattyMac is playing very specific builds that will always have a very specific weakness. And if you do some funky builds too, you might be able to take advantage of that weakness. Now, it might obviously work the opposite way, but I think the standard play often can be very weak to these kinds of builds. PattyMac knows exactly what he's up against, and he's going to chop into the main base here. Oh, and I love this. Waiting for Blink to come off cooldown. It's out of vision range.
Armed and ready.
Warping in 4 more Stalkers, and then PattyMac is just going to put some big pressure on. Blink is ready to go. Down goes the tank. Down go the Marauders. Ooh, and I like this. Focusing on the Viking as well. Going to make it really tough to kill this Prism. Zero pulling everything back, but already a bunch of workers going down. Stalkers blinking backwards. Big stim forward here. Zero might have enough power to push this away. Has lost a ton of SCVs, though, so even if he does push it away, I'm afraid Zero's just not going to have enough left. More SCVs getting pulled here. More Stalkers warping in and blinking back. And PattyMac, I think, is just going to have an overwhelming number here, even, again, if Zero somehow pushes this away. But at this point, it is 23 army supply to 10, and PattyMac is starting to chip away at the production. There's 28 SCVs have been killed. And I think PattyMac is about to take game 4 and about to take this best of 7 show match. GG gets called by Zero. PattyMac is your champion of the first Apprentice Esports show match that we've got going on here.